Hello, this is Max Drake. I just want to talk to you about aText, text automation, text template, text shortcut, text macro, text automate, text expansion tool. Now, I really want to go sort of backwards a little bit and talk about some of the other issues coming with this. I first started doing some of this text expansion because I ended up with a script called autoCorrect, which you get from hotkeys. And it's got about 5,000 lines of things which you can actually just change and alter to meet to doing autocorrects. And right at the very bottom, it allowed you to actually start adding your own items on there. And I started to add a few things and a few little bits there. I actually found it quite useful. Now, I sort of half used it before, but not very much. I did it on a couple of signatures and things, but I didn't find I had that much use for it. I had it, so I ended up putting them onto hotkeys. But suddenly, when I was writing articles and things like that, and when I was using kind of long words repetitiously, I found that it was a very handy thing to do. Also, I had things like couriers or something, or I had to give my full address and things like that. And suddenly, I found I was using much more than I was previously. So when I found a use for it, and then so I moved on from that point of view. And one of the nuisances of that particular thing was you actually had to go and you had to go in and edit the file to add a new item on the text expander thing, and then restart the program up again. And then because I had it on 3 different computers, I then had to send that file around to the 3 different computers and then reset them up on those ones as well. So it's a bit of a nuisance just sort of fiddling around, just keeping everything up to date. I then moved on to Lentil List, and Lentil List sort of did that expansion, and it had a whole load of other features. And one of the features was it allowed you to do some variables. Now, they call them plugins, but it had things like counters or dates or things and stuff that you could start pushing in there and to do things and to do some math things, and it would alter cases and things. So these were variables that it would allow to allow extra things onto your text expander. So one of the things that I was blown away with on that is that I ended up one which would do this. So it was actually a title on my diary. So I've got this COVID diary, so that's just straight text. It would then put tomorrow's date in. So I actually had to get, and that's not easy because if you're at the end of the month, like if you're in an end of the month or your leap year, so if you're February the 28th or something like that, does it go February the 29th, February the 30th? No, it's got to move into March and do that sort of thing. So calculate the next day can be, you've got to do things. And they also did a counter. So I've got these things. So I was actually going and cutting and pasting, modifying and changing from Monday to Tuesday to the 29th or whatever it was, and then coming through and editing. And I found it was a bit of a nuisance, and I've got the things wrong, and sometimes I got the counts wrong and stuff like that. And it started to go. It was. I found that once I actually got this thing up and running, it was really good. It took all of that messing around out of it, and it would actually just go ahead and do what I wanted it to do. The thing with the Lintalist stuff was it started to get a bit buggy, and I sort of persevered with it, and I ended up with this hotkey in Max Launcher where I'd restart it to actually restart the program each time it's doing it. But what would actually happen, and this is the nuisance point, is you start doing a thing. So let's say I actually had one called TG. Nothing happens. You then got to delete that. And so you were suddenly saying, oh, this is today's day, or thank you, or something like that, that was. As it broken your flow as well, that was really disruptive. So I actually found, what's the point of having something if you got to go back and do it, restart the program up again, and then retype the thing and maybe do it 2 or 3 times? So it wasn't reliable. Whereas if I've got this one here, which is the ones, this one does it on a couple of different versions through here. So with the the aText, I actually find that it's very, very reliable. Now, before we go further, well, no, we will. We just go through the actual issues with this. Now, what you actually end up doing at the top, you actually have a new groups. So you can start off with a new group, and underneath the new group, you can actually have subgroups. Now, this is really good because in the subgroups, you can make rules. So in this group is one that are just my hotkeys. Now, the other thing which you can actually do with the groups is that you can actually have it by a specific application. So like if I was doing some CAD or modeling or something like that, and I had a whole lot of spec things, so I actually have standard specification items which bricks do if there's course, the gap between is supposed to be this, or allow ventilation barrier, or that. You can actually just have a whole lot of simple hotkeys that only associate with that particular program, that you can actually fire off and bang those notes in. So it does this auto expander there, and you just got these repetitious notes that you can just fire in all the way through. So you could set up that sort of thing if you wanted to. Now I haven't, because I haven't been doing that much of the stuff recently, but it's a handy tool to allow that to do, and that only allows those keys to work in a certain application, so they won't work anything else. So you can actually have okay, then, so if you've got these applications, you can say all applications except certain applications, or only in selected applications, or no application at all. So you can disable a whole lot of different things and make certain rules up in here. Now in these subgroups away, and this is set up for all applications, it's got these basic ones, and it's got expand after typing abbreviation. So this one is TY, and you just do TY and it does it straight away. Now if I try doing TY again, it just does TY, because the next part, if the abbreviation is placed after delimiter, so if it's placed after any character, we say, then you can do TY and then TY again. So it happens without actually having a gap. And this is something which after delimiter, or I should actually just put it after a white space, and I know what that is there through there. So this now won't work there. So it won't work because, oh no, it doesn't. TY, it shouldn't. No, there, it's not working because it isn't doing after white space. So that's one of the things that you can start controlling stuff. Now, this is one of the things that I ended up doing when I was, a mistake that I was first making when I was doing this. Now, this is the second one. So that one, you just type the letters and it does it all right. But in fact, TY is not very good, because you might actually have something ending in TY. And if you do have something ending in TY, it will auto expand there straight away. In fact, if you've got something, if you've got a TY in the middle of something, two words like that, two letters joined together, it would auto expand in the middle of a word, which can be quite frustrating. Like, let's just say it's, we'll just go and change that. So the thank you one, let's go and change that to OO. And this is what can happen. You can actually be typing book, and but actually it's not going to do it at this point in time, because of the fact that when we set up this basic thing, it's got to actually have white space, whereas we can say any character, and this is what catches me out sometimes with some of them, is that you start typing and it suddenly chucks that in the middle. It's very confusing when you're in the middle of stuff. It freaks you out because these things are out of your control a little bit. So what you need to do is be a bit damn careful on things. So what I start doing at the beginning is I start with them. I'm going to change that, thank you, back to TY there. And again, the TY is easy because it's sort of mnemonic, thank you, so it's easy to remember. So a lot of the letters and things that you want to make them, we want that after delimiter at this point in time. We'll go back to that one here. Now, what I always do, is, or especially with new ones and stuff like that, is that I have a whole lot of expanding ones like here. Like this one here is AHL. And if I hit spacebar, then it goes autohotkey. Now, an interesting thing with this, which is got in Atex, is if I do capital A, capital H, and then I do small l and space, it does it all in capitals. So it's got these controls through here of some of the rules that you can actually set up, not in the basic, in the expanded one. So this one here says typing after the delimiter and keep the delimiter. So that means there's a gap. So this is another thing I just want to highlight here. Here's one called bookmarklet. So it's just BML, and I hit the space bar. Oh, it's not doing it. BML. Oh, sorry, I've changed that to BO. Sorry. No, I changed that back to what it was because I'm used to that. So BML, I think I was doing a previous video and I did that. So if I type BML, and do the space bar, it does that, and you see there's a gap at the end. Now when I come into here, there's no gap. The last field is the T, and then there's no gap. But what this expand after pressing thingambob does is it says if typing type delimiter and keep the delimiter. Now, since I know delimiter is spacebar, it keeps that delimiter after spacebar. Now, if I move that into up to here, back to the ones which is basic, so I actually just have to type BML only, it does that, but you see it hasn't allowed the gap. So you've got to make sure that if you're up in that one and just using it through there, that you might need to allow the gaps in some and you might not, because it's really disruptive if the next one comes along and then you've got to come back and actually add that spacing. This is not what it's about. It's about trying to do it as efficient as possible. So you need to kind of debug these things so that you've got the right flow and you keep them in the right place. Now, this is another thing. You can actually have them down here and move them up into another one so you can change the order of what you want. And again, you know, a lot of the order with the things. As I said, I always keep mine is 021 and spacebar just from the point of view of numbers. I find this really handy for telephone numbers and things like that. Again, you know, the other one is you can do plain text, you can do rich text, you can do HTML. There's a script thing here, and you can do pictures. So an example of a picture is this one here coming through here. Another thing that you can actually do is that you can add an attachment. So what I can actually do is, let's just do it on this bookmarklet one through here. We're going to have an attachment. We're going to add an attachment as a link, and we're just going to go through and take an image. And we're just going to come through here. So just go BML space, I think it is now, and there's a bookmarklet and the image comes in. So that's a great way of being able to bring some other stuff through into there. Now, what happens if I'm actually in just a standard text format and I actually try doing that? So if I go bookmarklet, it does the bookmarklet, but it's not bringing in the image because it can't do it in that environment, in a text environment. So it can do it in the rich text format or in the Word document type format, but it can't do it in a straight text format. So that's not able to bring in that image through there. So maybe we can bring in the image as an attached link. So if we just hit that image through there and go into BML, again, it won't let me do that. So it's not allowed to do it in there, but it will be allowed to do it in there. And that one there does it. Oh, no, it's not doing it. Bookmarklet, and it's not bringing in the link. Isn't that odd? Or maybe it's because it's already there. So let's just delete that. We've got that as a thing through there. Bookmarklet. Now this might end up being, this is one of the things that sort of catches me out. So this is the next thing that I want to talk through and just jump through it as a demonstration. Where is my one? I've gone and changed it. No, last. No. Okay, I'll have to start this from scratch. One of the things that you can do is that you can start adding some variables through here. So we're going to make a new, and this, for a new one, you just right hand click here, you can go a new snippet, or you can click the plus box, or I think you go Control N. So here's a new snippet here, and this is going to be a T, Y, no, we got a T and a Y, P, O, W for that. Now this one here, I did have an example. I don't know what the hell's happened to it. That's what I'm really confused with, is that I can go the rain in Spain and then what I can actually do in here is I can go insert. These are premium features through here. I can insert a snippet, so I can insert a snippet from another one. So I'm going to put the house line information on there. So it's going to put my house address through there, and then I'm going to say a person. So I'm actually going to add in another insert snippet, and I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to go into basic, and I'm going to go that wants somebody to know. So he wants, and inside here I'm going to add a field. Now the field is a single line, multi-line. I haven't played with some of these ones, but there's some interesting things in there. Simply played, I haven't done it. So I've just left it a single line, and the name is customer. So we know what it says. So that's the prompt that we're going to get for that, saying that's what we want. Now we have a customer, and if it's a default customer, we're just going to call him Joe Blogs. Or what is that, John Doe, really, in the States, I suppose. It's editable, and the width is 100 through there, and it's there. So if I add that field into there, the customer through there, and we will deliver on, and now we can put in, if we come into here, we can insert a date and time feature. Now here's a date time feature. We can come in here, we can select different things. So we can put the day in different formats and the month and the year, or there's whole predefined ones through here. So we can actually have this written like this, Sunday the 28th of November. Now what we can do is that we can also add the English suffix. So if this is the 28th, then it's going to say the 28th at the end of it. So we can add that one into there. Now, as this is writing Sunday the 28th of here, it might take too long to run before it loops through into something else. So what we can actually do into there is that we can insert a timer. Now what the timer does in milliseconds, so I'm just going to add in a 200 millisecond timer to it, is it delays doing the next line, and this is also it delays doing the next bit of whatever action comes next. It pauses the script to allow that to write. So sometimes things might be slower, like because I'm running my OBS. So we can do a keystroke in here. Now in this one, I'm going to do a keystroke 2, and it's going to be a control. So this is the same as using the Control+2 key, which I've got a little help key. Now because this might be pulling in a whole script of another file, text, so it might suddenly say write all of this information, and I've got examples of that, is that I might want a 20 millisecond delay and maybe a 200 millisecond delay afterwards to allow all of that to write, and now we can do that. So what we can actually now do on there is that we can actually now type POW space, and it pops up here. So it hasn't written anything there. It says this is what we're going to write in here. So where it says house address 1, you see it's put the whole address into there. So I don't have to type all of that in. I don't have to cut and paste it. It's already in there. Now you know that it's spelt right. So if it's spelt wrong, you can see it's spelt wrong, fix it, and then every time that it calls it next time, you know it's going to do. Max Drakes wants customer. Now if we don't want Joe Blogs, we can actually put somebody else in there. Fred Dag. In there, we will deliver on. So it's given us our date in the format that we want with the at the end of the 28th or the 1st or whatever, and then we've got a little pause timer, and then this is also, and it's doing a script, doesn't know what that hotkey is. So if we go OK, it now writes that in. Now that hotkey through there is in fact Control+2 that just writes that in. So I've just got the date format that I use in for the file. So this is at the end of the file so that I know when I was actually doing something. So straight away, I've got a pre-templated stuff that's set up, and it's going to automatically come through, and it pops through. And this one here, we can see that we want Fred Dag. We've got need a space into there. So the next one we want that, we're going to have a space between wants and then whoever the person is, and we will deliver. So if you had a template of a whole lot of standard things that you put through, you could convert that into a rich text format. You could add an image into that through there, so we can add a picture onto that one there. So we'll add browse, and we'll just go and get one of those, and we'll open that up. So then the next time we go and use that, don't know if that went in there or not. It didn't look like it, did it? Add attachment. We'll just go and add that one through there. See if that one goes through there. Okay, and it's saying it's added that one there. So now when I come through here and I type what is it, POW space there, we just keep with Joe Blogs, and we do all of that. And now you see how it's slightly corrupted this one through here. What it does is it lets you play with the in the free version, it lets you play with a lot of these variables, but then it starts messing them up a bit. And you see this one here is maybe it started to write it, but it stopped too quickly. Another thing is maybe my timer should have been longer for there. So I've made it instead of 200 millisecond, 200 millisecond, maybe it should be 300 millisecond to allow for those things to be written in there. So these are just simple things to do. Now the image didn't seem to come in at this point in time through there, but you know, you can actually add a table into this thing through here, and it's got so many columns. So if you wanted to pre-set up tables, even with a bit of data in there or certain headers and stuff that you wanted to chuck into a Word document, boom, it's already there to actually do. So I must admit, I find Word formatting a total mystery. I work in Excel, and if I want a table in there, I just cut and paste it from Excel. It's not the most elegant way of doing it, but my experience is I don't. But if you've got things which are pre-templated up, you can actually just add that in there straight away. So if I just type PAW spacebar through there again, and we go OK, this will come through and the tables come through there, bang. So this is where the pleasure of that. So I can actually have a whole load of other ones up here. So I don't want a spacebar, I want one which I trigger on an enter or I trigger on a thing. You can make these hotkeys as well. So instead of, if we come through here, I've got that. I can also set a hotkey to it so that I can actually have a key which is maybe 5 and have Windows plus Control or something, and that's the hotkey for that if I want that particular one through there. So there's other ways that I can reach in and grab this sort of information through the methods that I'm actually doing. So those are the variables that you can actually do. Another thing that you can actually do is scripts. Now this one here, because they're now these ones here in the scripts ones through here. Oh, sorry, I just want to go back into field through here. Another little fun one that they've got through here, and this is an example of one called XX. What it does is it's basically, so we're going to do, and we're going to make that 3. And we're going to go OK, and it's done all of these little math things through there. So if you suddenly find, I do sometimes find want to convert from centigrade to Fahrenheit, from Fahrenheit to centigrade, or I actually want to do a conversion of some dollar units to New Zealand things or whatever, an exchange rate or something like that. I'll go onto the web and type it into the address bar and get those formulas, or I've got some temperature or a simple formula. The fact that you can actually just put a few variables in here and just have some simple formulas ready to go on a quick hotkey, you know, like the E equals MC or something like that, you know, you can actually do some energy stuff. It's quite easy that you can set these up straight away. So variables are really powerful. You don't have to know any coding. You just know what you want to set and what variables you want to bring in, and it actually does all the calculations that you want. The nice thing as well with this is it does demos that you want through there. Now the next one that it does is that you can do some things called scripts. Now the scripts in here, it sort of blew me away from the point of what you've actually got. So if we just go into some of the scripts here. The interesting thing with scripts is that you can actually, if you use a certain program, say you use Rust or you use Ruby on Rails or something like that, you can actually come into here, and inside your scripting, you can use a new script file. So you can say, well, it's Rust, we'll say, and its extension is US or something. I don't know what it is. And then you can, what's that? Yeah. Windows subsystem for Linux. Oh, no, we didn't want that. Maybe that's why it's going a bit funny with that. So we want. So this is, I think, if you're running a virtual machine on the thing, then we don't want that. So the shell, I think bash is that, and we don't want that, and we don't want that. So now you can actually go and find where the executable of that program is and say, right, run it. So this is seriously cool for me because I can actually run auto hotkeys or auto hotkey 2s. Now I've got a feeling that this is a premium version thing, so it sometimes runs and sometimes doesn't run. But what you can do is sometimes I find with the variables and the things or something like that, there's usually 1 or 2 times when you just need a little bit of script to get you out of some problem. Now, an example of that is if you download a zip file. A lot of the zip files, to protect yourself, Windows, because there could be nasty bugs in there, it blocks those files. So when you try unzipping a file without unblocking the file, anytime you end up with any DLL, which are dynamic libraries, files and things like that, it just makes them all blocked if you just unzip it without unblocking the zip at the beginning. Now, there is a nice little PowerShell script that you can actually run that will just unblock the scripts before you unzip them. And if you've got a little script that you select that one, then it'll most probably do that. Now, the interesting thing with this script, if we just go in and looked at this script for the ones for script through here, the rules with this is scripts abbreviations. So anything in this folder through here has to start with a /. So therefore, as soon as I go /, it then says what scripts I've got available. So let's just do this auto hotkey one. So first of all, it's got the hotkey for it, which is, the expansion, which is a /x1. Or it also says, I've got 6 of them in there. You can actually just use Control plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we will activate that one. So we're going to activate this one here with Control 3. And we'll see what happens there. Nothing by the look of it. And if we try it through here, Control X1, it doesn't seem to be doing it. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. This is why I think it's a premium feature, because I have had these ones working before. So R-cube, the random quote, and it's just saying the system can't find this specified file. Now, I was playing with these before, and when I was in the random quotes and the things like that, I actually had that. So I've got that set up now as a batch. So if I go into there now and go /random quote, it's still not doing anything through there. And I actually had to go and find a path to command.exe to run the batch file to do that. But I've actually had these things working. So I think it works a little bit inconsistently. But what this allows you to do is to have maybe a little program, and as I said, it's a bit of a pain that I can't get any of my auto hotkey ones to actually go through here. So let's just try again, and we'll just try that one there. No, it's not going to do it. And if we go into that one there, it's not going to. I have had these ones, and it just pop up with the box. So it sort of, in some ways, what I was doing was repeating what was happening through here. So another thing that I have found really useful is that the rich text format, no, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm in that, sorry, cancel. I'm going to cancel out of that because I'm not in those ones there. One of the things which I did find is my full signature through here. So when I actually had my full signature, this is actually in HTML. So to get this to work inside auto hotkey scripts, I actually had to bring it in as a file, and it reads it line by line. Oh, sorry, this then puts it to the clipboard and then it pastes it in. But auto hotkey doesn't like rich text. But I've now found I can actually just hit this one here and just type FS, and it does it full. And these ones here actually have clickable links that I can actually go to those. So it's straight away, although it's an HTML data into there, it displays it beautifully in rich text format, and it actually puts it in great. So this works in email. This example works in email and Gmail and Microsoft Office. So this is fantastic for me, is that I can straight away just paste this in. And in fact, I've got a little auto hotkey script that I'm developing at the moment where I'm just trying to replicate some of the things where you can put in input boxes for variables for people's names and things like that, and it sets up an email. And one of the things that I found is that because the auto hotkey can parse text, when it tries doing it with rich text formats, you just end up with dribble or gibberish on the screen. But what I can actually do is right at the end of the script is just kind of say send FS, which is the shortcut for this one here, and it then just writes this in and pastes this in. So it then takes this, puts it into clipboard, and then just pastes it into the document that I'm doing. And it works perfectly. So I'm actually using it in a sort of a backward way of doing that. Now, another really lovely thing of this, which is sort of bringing us into the full circle through here, is that there's some extra things and features in here as well. There's some emojis, so this is seriously cool as well. So if you're into emojis, it does emojis very nicely in there. If you're actually in a non-readable sort of in a text document, it also allows you to do them in there as well. So that's great. You know, you don't have to suddenly convert it into a UTF-8-bomb type thing, which I was playing with other programs to make it to work. It does it straight away. Now, the thing is as well is it actually has an autocorrect dictionary. Now, initially I was a bit peeved off with this because it said do not modify. So in this one here, it's got a whole lot of examples about, say, if you put a boot. So if I just go into here and type OUT and go space, it then converts it back to about. And because it's in the beginning of the thing, it's at the beginning of the paragraph, it's now put that as uppercase. So it does that auto correct things through here. If you see these ones which are highlighted like this, that means that those are used elsewhere, so that there's a copy of those somewhere. So there might be a conflict later on. So it's good that it highlights those. But I suddenly thought, I've got, in my autocorrect one, I've got 5,000 lines, but then they do a whole load of different things with them. That's the stuff that you never really use. Then there was a second dictionary, and if you look at this one, it works in complement with the other one, and but it doesn't have the same. So you see, there's only one about, and it's this is one where it's actually done a bit short. So I've actually just gone into there, and I typed about, and then done space, and it actually adds the other thing through there. So that's brilliant. So it complements the first one, but you can't go and edit these. If you try adding one to them, it doesn't work. So what you've got to do is that you've got to add your own. So inside here, you can create the dictionary, your own dictionary, and one that I do all the time, I see that it's actually somewhere else, so is TEH instead of the. I don't know, it just does the fly. So this is a great thing because my daughter's dyslexic. So her misspellings are going to be different from my misspellings. And again, as I get older, I'm finding that I'm hitting between the keys a lot more frequently. So I have specific misspelling ones that I'm doing all the time. And this is a great way that you can then tailor this dictionary over time into things that you do. So I think I'm going to be migrating from actually having my auto hotkey script sitting down here, my auto correct one through here, and moving over to doing this. So this is something that's in the free one. So every time you have something that you want to do an autocorrect, you just add it to your list and off you go, and there you are. And so that's really a handy thing to do. Initially, I was thinking that was not good. Now let's go. Another thing that I find really, really good on this is in the preferences. Inside Lintil List, one of the issues I actually had was I had Lintil List in the bedroom, and I was writing a whole lot of things. And I had Lintil List in here, and I was doing a programming and some other things. And what happened was my two lists ended up diverging. So suddenly I'd be on this one trying to type abbreviations that were on the other one. So they weren't keeping up with each other. But inside here, you can actually back up, and you can do a backup now. So if I've updated things, I can actually back up that file. Now I've got it backed up to my NAS, so my network storage, so that I can access that from all of my things. Now this really works well for me because I've got another PC that I use infrequently, and it's annoying when suddenly all of those features that I'm used to aren't on there, whereas this is easily to update. So I can actually just import that file. It's going to the wrong location at this point in time. I need to go into there, and I need to go down to the bottom somewhere. And I've got the sync through here so that I can actually get the latest sync through here. Now what this does is it doesn't overwrite the originals. What it actually does is it makes a copy of the thing through there. So if I'm suddenly thinking, oh, well, the updated one is the latest one that I want, I can just blow away my older one because I've got the newer one, which I want. But if there's something in the newer one that I want to put in the older one, I can actually just drag it across and keep it. So that's a handy thing to do. So I can actually just delete those files that I've got down here because there's a whole lot of duplicates that come through. Delete. So that's just something that I just del, and del, that one there. So that's a really beautiful thing. There is this sync that you can do, but you need to have the paid version through there. So how much does it cost? Now, this is one of the things, premium features, which is the sync, the password protection, no limitations. I don't know what the limitations, so there might be a number of limit on how many you can actually add. So that may affect your dictionary ones as to what you can do. So I might actually have to keep the other one going through. So you can get the free one in the store, and you can do purchase the add-on for $4.99, which is a year. You can add on the option 2 if you buy it from the store. If you go to the store There's a few, as I said, a bit confusing. In the store one for the premium one, it's actually $30 US if you go into the US store or wherever you buy it from through here. If you're buying it in Europe, it's €30. So buy it from the American store, in my opinion. When you come back through to other things on it, sorry, we're coming through. You can purchase from the aText store itself, and if you purchase it from there, for a personal license, it's $25 US, but you've got one user and you can put it on 5 computers. If you buy it from the premium one on the thing, you buy it for $30, so that's $5 more. But if you log in inside there, it's got a comment that if you log in with your Microsoft account, you can get 10 copies. Say if you've got a small office or something like that, just log in on all those computers and do that, although I don't think they want you to do that. But that gives you 10 copies through here. Sorry, this is my article that I've written on it. So this one here lets you do that. A business license is $15 for one computer, but any number of users on that there one. For a personal license, you can get 1 year for $4.99, and the one user and 3 computers in 1 year. So one license is valid for one user and 3 computers. So therefore, it's most probably checking your logon. After 1 year, that will expire, and you will not be charged automatically. If you purchase again, you buy a new year with a new 1 year or whatever. Discounts available on blah blah blah. So that's and it will do it by different countries, and some of the exchange rates are good and some of them are not so good through there, but that's an interesting thing through there. So there's an awful lot of things that you can do with this, and I'd initially just not played with the scripting stuff because I didn't think it would be that useful, but in fact I think at the end of the day I actually think that the scripts, for me personally, of just being able to do little auto hotkey scripts through here and test them might be a good way to do. So I might end up going and spending the $5 and doing it, because again, this is on 3 computers and generally that's all I use most of the time, so it's more than handy to do. And if I actually wanted it on a 4th one, I would actually most probably only use in the basic stuff through here. So the nice thing with this is it has a great it's nice to look at. It's definitely better than Lentil List. I found it really reliable. The other thing through here is instead of actually having what's being shown on the text, you can actually say email to or something, so that you've got something as a label on the top. You can actually have tags. So this one might be email that I'm using. So when I'm doing some searching through there, as well as doing that, there's also, you can search by certain topics or certain keys or something like that. So you can search by O2 and see what comes up to there. And I think I have to do an enter or something, and it comes through. And it comes through and highlights the ones where the O2s are coming through or within the addresses coming through. So we've got those inside that address. I think we've got the 2 on the thing, and we've got the number. The other one gives you some statistics, which I think I've yet to actually use that much, but it's something that I will be following through. Which snippets are you using the most? And in fact, I did see somewhere along the line up the top here, when I was playing with it, a view, show children count. I think that was, so I might close out of that. There's one of them, there was an interesting thing. So it showed, I think it was maybe show the tree. No, that's actually just showing dates and stuff like that. So I don't really want to show those ones there. But I did find somewhere, no, date and time I'm not really interested in. So however I turn those up, I can, inside there, you can set up those sorts of things through there. You can export selected items. You can export selected items with password if there's something. Again, with the tags, I don't really generally use tags that much, and again, because I'm just using the abbreviations, again, you can do that. But like I've been using computer for ages. I've had this program on top of on my computer. I've had it on there, and I did use it. I was intimidated by a lot of the things. And I suddenly thought, oh, it's just another one of those sorts of things there. And in fact, there are. It's been this slow learning curve from actually starting off with the thing and then finding a use for it, and then growing when I found the variables of actually finding that I could speed up some of the things that I did. I'm actually finding that I need to think about this a bit more about using it, because I'm finding my typing, either I'm thinking too fast and I'm actually typing things and I'm getting the keys messed up. So I find I'm spending just as much time going back and tidying up and doing a lot of auto-correcting stuff. Whereas if I can actually do a lot of it, set up those autocorrects very early on, that it would speed up things quite a lot more for me. So that's one thing that I think I'm trying to do. The other thing is that you actually want something that goes with the flow. Is that, I comment on this, and this is where my drive is with these sorts of things, is you want something that you sort of happens unconsciously. I remember talking to somebody about changing from just drawing on the drawing board to actually drawing with a computer. And he said, well, when you draw on a drawing board, it's just body memory. You just draw the line, you put the ruler down and you draw the line, and you can think of the elements through there. When you're doing it on a computer, you've got to think, what is the control? I've got to go L for line, enter, then I've got to mouse click somewhere on the screen, then I've got to drag the line across, then I've got to click again, and then I've got to exit out of that and then do the next thing or whatever. So suddenly there's all these interfering steps with this sort of conscious flow that you normally have. So a lot of the times, you don't type L-I-N-E, you just type L and then enter or something like that. So you're trying to simplify these things so that they're kind of more mnemonic as to what you're doing. So a lot of this text expander stuff starts doing that. And it's one of those things, you've got to start off with baby steps. Start off with a couple of small ones that work for you, and then start developing bigger ones. And don't suddenly say, oh, I want to do it, and suddenly have this boilerplate stuff and it's got to be perfectly exact. You're suddenly thinking, no, chunk it down into smaller bits. So almost paragraph of things, and you can add. And then when you suddenly find every time I type that paragraph, so I'm doing that paragraph, I chunk them together into one thing. So you sort of build slowly on the things that you're doing. I'm still building on what actually, which ones I've used. Now I just suddenly find really simple ones that I find that I use a lot is inside my coding thing. I'm actually just using message box things through there. Another one that I actually have is that because I'm a lefty, I've now changed my tilde to mean enter. So therefore, I actually to make a new line, you actually the tilde. So suddenly to do the tilde is really it's hard to get at. So what I ended up having to actually make another little abbreviation so that I can actually just get the tilde in there and just make a new line very quickly inside the command through there. And so I've actually found ways of doing this. So although these might be trivial things, they end up wasting a lot of time. I find I waste a lot of time just trying to get my way around some of these things. So I'm starting small. There's things that I've got, like as I said, I've got one called deliv, and I might abbreviate that again, and that has a whole lot of information through there. And in fact, I might have one called del one for thing, and del 2, which might actually have an attachment, which might be a map or something that I can just check into an email or something like that. So I might have a del, which would be a simple one, and then I might have a more sophisticated one that I would go and use. So over time, I'll start building things that work. And again, but the key thing is it's got to be reliable and consistent. If it's not reliable and consistent, and that's why at the end of the day, I walked away from the Lintil List because of the fact that it wasn't reliable. And I tried several options. There was another one where he used a bit of updated code and did something else in there and written it in a different way. That wasn't any good for me either. So I just suddenly thought, no, that doesn't work. This one here, I think there will be a cost associated with it because I'll most probably go along to the new one. And I don't know if which actual things are part of the premium. But if the coding's through there and the coding is part of the premium, I think that will be something that will force me in there because I can think of a couple of simple little scripts that I can put in there to speed up some of the things. As it is, I've got some of them outside of aText, but there's some that maybe I need to actually add inside aText to do some of the things through here. So I definitely think if you're actually suddenly thinking that you're paying $5 for a year and it's saving you, let's just say it's saving you 10 minutes a day or something. If you actually look at actually how much that saves you over a lot of time. Now, I've been using a lot of auto hotkey scripts and things like that. And what I find is it's not that they do work reliable. And I tell you what, this the autocorrect one, fantastic. I just don't think about it. It's there in the background and it works its way through beautifully, no problem at all. And so some of them are very reliable. What I have the issue with that is just accessing to add another feature on there. Now, because I've got this pinned to the taskbar down here, I can easily access it to actually add something more and add something new on there or change something from one style. And this is easy to change. Do I want it thank you with just TY or do I want it thank you with the spacebar on the end? And so I can play. Some things I find work easier and in one method, other ones I'm still a bit uncomfortable about, and so I'll keep it with another one. And some I don't use that frequently. So another thing that you can do is you can just pull them down to the bottom. If you can suddenly there's a few things that I've got. I don't use that frequently, but as long as I know where I can go and find them, they're there when I need to use them. So I can actually have one which that should work. No, it's not working now. I've got unwritten that one. There's ones that I can tuck away into another place that I don't do, so I can actually only update certain subdirectories. So at the moment it's doing a backup on everything, and maybe I should just do a sync on everything just so that everything's synchronized rather than backing up and updating and actually doing the stuff. But I'm still developing these at this point in time. I haven't played with the images much. And I really do want to try and use this. And now this is another thing through here, is that when I've got into the scripts through here, the rule is that it was a backward slash. So I can actually change that and make that a backward slash. So every time I actually want to write one of those, so I can suddenly say, no, I want it to be triggered by something like the equal sign or the stand-up sign or the equal sign. So that means every time I do it, I'm going to go equals 1. So which one have I got there? It's not triggering it. Random password. And that's not running at this point in time. So I'm still sort of, I've been fiddling with the scripts a bit, but I still haven't quite got the hang of those. And so I'm still feeling my way, if that's a script, what program it's using. So it should be using the batch script through there. And I actually had to go and find a command line, although that command should automatically be there. So there's one of the things through here I'm still playing with is finding the applications and configuring and setting up some of the applications that you want. Like I've got a application is the Windows through there. And so there's other ones that I need to go and do. But there's some things here that I actually want to play about and how to add other application configurations and things and what you need to do. Like some of them, if you're opening a program or doing some trigger like that, it can add other little variables that you can actually add on the end of them to do those, and there's some pulled ones. I have played with those, but I tell you what, from an aesthetic point of view, from a reliable point of view, I'm really wrapped with this program. This may not be one to do, and overall you might start with something else that you want to do. You know, I started with auto hotkeys. I started off with a couple of simple text expanders. I've sort of grown over time. I can see more use. But what I actually find is as long as they're reasonably accessible to get to, that's why I've got it down. Although it's sitting down in here, I've got it pinned to my toolbar here so that I can quickly open it and add things to it as I come through. The more accessible it is, the more you're likely to use it. And also, if you break it, you're more likely to go and fix it if you can go and do that. And again, this is one that I actually ended up doing. I ended up with the house address on 3 lines, and I thought, well, there's times when I actually want the house address on 1 line. So I've got the 2 choices there as to which way I actually want to do that. And so in an email or something like that, or a text, or the way that I do it. Signatures, I can actually start adding a whole lot of signatures, and I'm just using S1, S2, S3 for those at the moment, or things. And then you start looking at the frequency of use, and then you're suddenly thinking, well, I've got that as a 3-letter as abbreviation, and the other ones as well is like Firefox is one that I actually use because sometimes you have a double F in the middle of a word. I didn't actually want that as a trigger point, so I've got things where I've got something like an FF and I've got an X, which is very close, like it's very quickly to type the double F, and so it's almost like the trigger is it's a lot quicker, even though it's 3 letters, rather than if you've got to go Z and then reach across to a P and then hit the space bar in the middle or something like that. You know, you want a lot of the keys close together, or the repetition of the same key, like ZZ. It's not often that you actually use ZZ for anything, so that's a good little text expander key, but it's got to be something that your mnemonic, you know, that you think along with the Zs, or it has a, you know, one, it's very accessible. Well, for a left-handed person it is, you know, but so you want to look for keys that are accessible, repetitious ones if you do. Ones where you're reaching your hand out of its position all the time to go and do stuff is not what you want. What you're trying to do is to go as fast as you damn well can in what you're actually doing. Again, this is trying to take the chores out of things, trying to make things accessible to actually get those chore things out of the way so that you can be productive. And then you actually feel like at the end of the day that you've actually achieved, you know, something, and you're quite satisfied with what you've achieved. And there's days when I've thought I've achieved very little because I'm fiddling and fuffing around. Now, there's times when I've achieved very little because I'm just learning programming and I'm doing it in so many wrong ways before I finally find the right way to do it. That I don't really mind. That's a learning part that you're doing. But when you're actually just chasing around, you know, inside, like trying to do a message box, and something, and I've got the M and the S, and then is it a G and a B or what, or, you know, and you're typing it in. I've got all of this set up so I can actually just put a variable in there. Most of the time, if I don't want a variable, I can say that's all, or whatever I want through there. And just have those on there. But a lot of the times I'm actually putting variables in there. So that's really handy for me. And I don't have to think about it. And it's a 2-letter expander. So I would really recommend, I didn't use this for ages, and I had a few shortcut hotkeys that I used for a long time. But I tell you what, this actually takes an awful lot of grind out of that. And I think initially you just use some really simple things. Go and get the cheapest and the versions of these. You know, now this is not the only one that's out there. This is one that I'm slowly progressing through them. I have done things like there's one called Phrase Express that I think you actually had a free one, and there's a few other macro ones out there that you can actually use. A lot of them are built already on top of AutoHotkey. I don't know what this one's built on, but it seems to be a lot richer and a lot more reliable than some of the things going through here, just because of the way that you can actually manage the rich text format through here, and the coding, the fact that you can add all of these different cancel, going to make sure that you're in the right area for doing the things. So again, even and the fact is I've started to play with emojis. I really love the fact of emojis. Now again, one of the things is I want to start doing seeing if I can set up some of this for some of my modeling or CAD work that I do, so that I can actually have some standard notes that I can just punch in straight away. There's some that you actually got to write in, and there's some that you would need to go and alter and things like that. But if you've got a whole lot of bulk of things to do, this is where a lot of the cutting and pasting sort of works out. But you've sort of got to have all your documents open, whereas this it's just automatically, which ones that you've got to drop in and where you've got to drop them in. And there's certain, little key notes that you do. And because they might be short notes, they end up being quite irritating because they're kind of your hands jumping all over the keyboard to locate a whole lot of things. It just speeds up those little fiddly things that you do all the time. I'm definitely taken by this one here, and I think I will be purchasing after I play with them a bit more and see where I'm lacking, to see what other editions that I want it for. And I think I'll most probably just go for the yearly one because I'm broke. But a great tool. I think this is definitely a step up, although it hasn't got some of the variables. I can't play with the variables in the standard stuff that I've got to do. And if I start missing those variables, I can actually resolve some of those using the autoCorrect script at this point in time. But if I really need those variables to go there, that's when I'll start moving over to start doing them. But I think the thing which will sell it to me personally will be the scripting stuff. Because I do like little short bits of script that just get you out of a little bit of trouble on some of the things, and it just speeds up those things. And so that's why I started to get into a little bit of coding, because I found that the non-coding thing didn't quite reach me that last little inch for something that I wanted to do. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you found it good, give it a thumbs up. And, hey, go and purchase it. I think that's all I can actually recommend. And I would recommend something like this. And I generally do the free stuff, but there's times when, for a little expense, like to me, the Stream Deck was something I really worried about, doing a video on, because it is expensive to do. And in the end, I actually found this one here, which was a Max launcher, which is a sort of a free version that does roughly what the Stream Deck does. And I would recommend that. But the Stream Deck, I tell you, I still get a lot more pleasure out of using that than I do the Max launcher on some of the things. And it was so easy to set up, but you are paying a cost for doing that. So this one here is something that I've come across. I have used the Phrase Express. There's 2 or 3 other ones out there that all do the other one, and some of them are quite expensive. And this one, I do like the ones that allow you to do a certain amount of the things and basically make you more productive. And then you suddenly realize, well, I could be a hell of a lot more productive because I can see, and I like the way that I can actually play with these other features in this, so that you can see where you can use those extra features. Where they've got the ones where they've locked them off completely, you don't know whether you'd use them or not. Now on these ones, I straight away, I do see stuff that I can want to do. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a good day.